Good morning, children. Sairam. Children, in the previous presentation, we have completed the second chapter of chemistry, that is structure of atom. So, today I'll be starting with the third chapter, that is classification of elements and periodicity in properties. Now, the deducted course for this year is having only 3 topics in this chapter. The first topic is the modern periodic law and the present form of periodic table. So, first of all, we'll be studying about the modern periodic law and the present form of periodic table. The second topic we'll be studying will be the nomenclature of elements which are having atomic number greater than 100. And the third and the last topic that we'll be studying will be periodic trend and properties of elements, and which all trends we have to study, that is atomic radii, ionic radii, inert gas radii, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, electronegativity and valency. These all topics we have to cover. Now children, as you're already familiar with this chapter because you have learned about the periodic table in 10th standard, so I'll not be revising the previous forms of periodic table, that is the Dobereiner-Straits and the Newland's classification and Mendeleev's classification. After that, you all know came the modern periodic law, according to which the physical and chemical properties of elements are the periodic function of their atomic number. That means the physical and chemical properties of elements depend upon the atomic number. Now you all know before the modern periodic law was given, you all know that the properties of elements were considered to be depending upon the atomic masses. Now atomic masses is not the main property on which the properties of elements depend. Now they depend upon atomic numbers. Why is it so? It is because the atomic number decides the valency of element. You all know the meaning of valency. Valency is the combining capacity, or you can say the number of valence electrons. The chemical properties depends upon valence electron. How many valence electrons are there? That thing only decides how many bonds will be formed. So atomic number is more fundamental property for the classification of element. Before this, the Dobereiner-Straits, the Mendeleev's classification and the Newland's law of octaves, all those were depending upon the atomic mass. Atomic mass is denoted by A. So now the modern periodic law tells you that atomic number is more fundamental property. You all know about atomic number, no? Suppose X is an element, the atomic number is shown by Z and is written here, and the atomic mass is shown by, it is denoted by capital A and is written on the top. Like for example, you are having an element sodium Na. The atomic number is 11, will be written here, and the atomic mass is 23, will be written here. Now why the periodic these properties are depending upon the atomic number? It is because atomic number tells you about the electronic configuration. The electronic configuration of sodium will be in the SPDF notation. We will be talking about the electronic configurations now. The atomic number is 11, so the electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s1. Now you all know, as only one electron is there in the 3s subshell, so it can either give one electron or take one electron. Giving one electron is more easier. So this electron is deciding the chemical property which is given by actually the atomic number. So atomic number is more fundamental property for the classification of elements, or in other words you can say The physical and chemical properties of elements are the periodic function of their atomic numbers. Now, on the basis of the modern periodic law came the modern periodic table. You all can see the modern periodic table is shown on the screen. Now, this is your long form of periodic table, also called the modern periodic table. In this modern periodic table, you all can see that there are 7 horizontal rows. In the first row, there are only 2 elements, hydrogen and helium. The second row, this is your second row, has got 8 elements, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine and neon. 8 elements are there in the second row of the periodic table. Now coming to the third row. This is your third row of your periodic table. In the third row, again 8 elements are there. Sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine and argon. In the fourth row, now there is some difference. In the fourth row are now 8 plus 10, 18 elements. The 18 elements are this potassium, calcium, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc, gallium, germanium, arsenic and selenium, bromine and krypton. Now a total of 18 elements are there in the fourth row of your periodic table. In the fifth row also again how many? 18 elements are there. But if you go to the sixth row of the periodic table, you see the first element is cesium, the atomic number is 55. The second element is barium, it is 56. Then is lanthanum, that is 57. The atomic number is 57. But if you see after lanthanum, the next element is not having the atomic number 58. Instead, it is having the atomic number 72, that is hafnium. So, where are the 14 elements from 58 to 71? These 14 elements are kept separately here down the periodic table, and these 14 elements are called the inner transition elements, also called the F block elements. Why they are called so and why they are kept separately, this I will tell you later. And the last row of the periodic table, the seventh row, is again having the same number of electrons, that is 32, as are present in the sixth row. So, how many horizontal rows are there in the periodic table? You all can see 7 horizontal rows are there in the periodic table, and these 7 horizontal rows are called the 7 periods. There are 7 periods in the modern periodic table or the long form of periodic table. And if we see the number of vertical columns, the first vertical column is called the alkali metal group, has got the elements lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and francesium. Actually, hydrogen is also present here. The second row of the second vertical column contains beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium and radium. Similarly, the third row contains these elements scandium, ytterbium, lanthanum and actinium. Then the fourth row contains titanium, zirconium, hafnium and rutherfordium and so on. Similarly, coming to this side, the 13th group, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17 and 18. So a total of how many vertical columns are there? 18 vertical columns, and these 18 vertical columns are called the groups. So there are 7 periods and 18 groups in the modern periodic table. Now see children, here the first 2 vertical columns, these are called the S block elements. Why? Because the last electron here enters the S subshell. You all can see the outermost electronic configuration for lithium is equal to 2s1. For sodium it is 3s1, calcium is 4s1, rubidium is 5s1, cesium is 6s1 and francesium is 7s1. Now seeing the second row of the periodic table, that is the alkaline earth metal group, beryllium is 2s2, magnesium is 3s2, calcium is 4s2, strontium is 5s2, barium is 6s2 and radium is 7s2. So these electrons are having 1 electron in the s subshell, these are having 2 electrons in the s subshell. So combining these two, we call these 2 rows as the S block elements, and after the 2 rows, the next 10 vertical columns are called, this is S, this is D. Why they are called the D block elements? Because here the last electron enters the D subshell. Now I have told you after lanthanum, the next element hafnium is not having the atomic number 58. Instead, cerium here in the F block element is having the atomic number 58. Now why these elements are kept separately? Because they were coming inside the D block element, but their last electron is not entering the D block element. Instead, it is entering the F block, subshell, so they are called the F block elements. So they are kept separately from the D block. Next is this period of the periodic table, these groups of the periodic table, they are called the P block. So how many blocks are there in the periodic table now? 3 blocks, the S block, D block, P block and F block. These blocks are named according to the position of the outermost electron. In the S block of the periodic table, all elements whose outermost electron enters the S subshell are present. In D block of the periodic table, all those elements are present in which the outermost electron enters the D orbital. In this P block, all those elements are kept in which the outermost electron enters the P orbital, or you can say P subshell, and F block are having all those elements in which the outermost electron is present in the F subshell. Now children, one more thing you have to remember, that the last group of the periodic table is called the inert gases, or you can say the noble gases. Why they are called so? Because the outermost shell is completely filled. Neither they want to give any electron nor they want to take any electrons. So they are called the the inert gases. Now I hope you all have understood the modern periodic table, how many groups are there, how many columns are there, how many groups are there. Groups means the columns, the vertical columns, 18 groups. And how many periods are there? Periods means the horizontal rows, 7 horizontal rows. How many blocks are there? 4 blocks, S, P, D and F. This one is S, this is S, P D and F block. And in S block, you all can see 2 vertical columns are there. P block, 6 vertical columns are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. D block, 10 vertical columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And in F block there are 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. These all are actually according to the number of electrons that can be accommodated. In S subshell, you all know a maximum of 2 electrons can be accommodated. In P subshell, a maximum of 6 electrons can be accommodated. In D subshell, a maximum of 10 electrons can be accommodated. And in the F subshell, a maximum of 14 electrons can be accommodated. So according to that only, the number of rows are there in the modern periodic table. Now children, after this, the next topic that we are going to cover is your naming of elements. See, actually the names are already given. The names are actually decided by the discoverer. Like for example, for Rutherfordium, the discoverer was Rutherford, so it is known as Rutherfordium. But actually there is very controversy regarding the name of the element, as these heavier elements which are having the atomic number more than 100, these elements have got a very less time period of existence. They exist for a small period of time, and for this small period of time they exist, their electron gain enthalpy is also their half-life period is very less, but a lot of money is expended on their discovery. So many labs are spending this money because they want the element to be named after this, but many elements are named at the same time in two different countries. So instead of writing the name with the name of the discoverer, a system was suggested by IUPAC, according to which the name is decided on the basis of the atomic number. See, actually, as I told you, the name has been privileged by the discoverer and was suggested by IUPAC. But now the IUPAC nomenclature depends upon the atomic number. Now see how it depends upon the atomic number. Suppose, if whatever be the atomic number, if a digit 0 is coming, for this you will be writing NIL, nil. If a digit 1 is coming, you will write UN, un. Just a minute. Yes, see, if 2 is coming, then by, 3 is coming, then try, 4, don't panic, because we'll do the examples. By this it will become more clear. Just learn right now. For 0, nil. For 1, un. For 2, bi. For 3, tri. For 4, quad. For 5, pent. For 6, hex. 7, sept. 8, oct. 9, n. Now see, if suppose any element is there whose atomic number is 101. So for 1 you will write un. For 0 you will write nil. And for 1 again un. And IUM is coming at the end of every name. So by this you can get to know, like for example, suppose there is an element whose atomic number is 101. The atomic number is 101. So it will be written as un, nil, un. Un for 1, nil for 0, un for 1 and IUM at the end. So the name of the element according to IUPAC whose atomic number is 1 will be un, nil, unium. Similarly, for atomic number 2, UN, un for 1, nil for the 0 and bi for 2. So the name of the atomic number 102 element will be un-nil-bium. Similarly, for atomic number 3, it will be un-nil-anium. trium. For atomic number 4, anil quadrium. For 5, 105, anil pentium. For atomic number 106, anil hexium. Similarly, for 107 will be anil septium. For 108 will be anil octium. For 109 will be anil inium. For 110 will be ilium. So it's so on. So I hope you all have understood. You just have to remember, for 1 you have to write an, for 0 you have to write nil, and for 1, 2, 3, 4 these things you have to learn. It will become more clear if you learn. Now children, I'll wind up with this. As I have discussed the syllabus with you, I have told you 3 topics we have to cover in the chapter. The first topic I have told you was the modern periodic law and the present form of periodic table, that we have already done. The second is the nomenclature of elements with atomic number more than 100. This also we have done. So the portion left for the next presentation will be your periodic trends and properties of elements, and those trends also, only the physical trends we have to study. They are atomic radii, ionic radii, inert gas radii, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, electronegativity and valency. And we'll finish off this chapter in the next presentation. You all are requested to solve the NCERT questions in your fair notebook yourself for this chapter, and do copy down the notes from all the slides that I have been showing you. Thank you. Sai Ram.